Technology is all the time presented as one of these things which is going to change education. And this presentation is about technology and education, and I'm going to actually say a bit of a funny thing, and that is technology doesn't necessarily change education at all. It doesn't necessarily do that. And what I want to talk about is I'm going to use the word affordance to describe what's possible with technology, but I want to use that word because we can do entirely conventional things with technology. We can build entirely conventional relationships of learning. Let me give you some examples of very ordinary things we can do. So we have this thing which we might call the didactic pedagogy, you know, the traditional classroom. And what we might do is we might replace that with a flipped classroom, which is, you know, in a term that's on everybody's lips at the moment. And what we might do is we might say, okay, instead of the lecturer or the teacher standing at the front of the room and telling student things, we might put that on a video. Instead of doing the test in the classroom or in a special examination room, the students might do a quiz, an online quiz. Now, does anything change in terms of the relationships of knowledge? No. You know, it's trivial really that we've moved the lecture to a video and we've moved the test to an online quiz. The relationships of knowledge are exactly the same, which is the students consuming knowledge, they're remembering that, coming back with long-term memory, and they're answering the questions correctly. So really, that's technology, you know, reproducing, continuing, reinforcing traditional pedagogies. Okay, it's fine that we might want to do that, and it might be actually more efficient. It might be that instead of having 30 students in the room, we can have 30,000 students in the room, and that's called a MOOC. Okay, so that's interesting, but it doesn't change in any way the nature of education. Another example, you know, in the old days, we use textbooks at school. So let's say we had a textbook which wanted to describe the phases of the moon. So there was a paragraph about how the moon travels around the sun, and a sequence of figure 1, figure 2, figure 3, which explained the way the phases of the moon work. Now what we might do is we might produce now an e-textbook, and you know what, you can just do this, swipe it with your finger because it's on a tablet or it's an e-book, and you can actually simulate those relationships between the moon and the Earth and the sun. Okay, so in a way that's, you know, we might think it's very fancy because it comes on a tablet and it's colour and it moves, whereas a textbook didn't. But in fact, in terms of what's going on conceptually, cognitively, as a relationship of learning, it's exactly the same. So none of this I think is interesting, right? The interesting question is, what are the things that we might do in education which are in some senses different, and hence the word affordances. Now, so what I'm going to do in this presentation is go through what I think are 7 things which could be profoundly different, but actually there's a bit of a twist in these 7 things, in that the 7 things are actually old things. They're actually things, not things that technology produces, but things that technology makes easy. And we didn't do them much before because they were quite difficult to do. And now, because technology makes them easier, we can do them. And therefore, because these opportunities are opened out, these affordances are offered to us, we can actually do something in education which is broader than what we did historically in the traditional classroom. So here we have a little map of these 7 affordances. It's a kind of a map of where we're going to go in this particular presentation. And what I'm going to do then is go through each of those affordances one by one.